Hey everybody, happy Wednesday to ya. It's a beautiful, beautiful day here in Mangum, Oklahoma. The fall is finally here. This morning I woke up around 6 o'clock, went to the local high school with a group of other fellow Christians and met and in the meet you at the pole, and it was a success, and it was so cool to see these young students come out and pray over the school and over each other. But I just want to share with you a little bit on what I shared with the Sunday school this Sunday. I want to talk to you about fear. Now, when I think of fear, I think of being somewhere. Here's a couple. I'm going to give you a couple examples of fear. Fear is that moment in your car when you think someone's about to hit you. That's fear, and your adrenaline starts pumping. Fear is also when you're on a roller coaster and you're wondering, is it going to stay together, especially those old wooden roller coasters. Fear is thinking you see something in the corner of your eye and you look there, there's nothing there. Fear is going into a room and people being there that you didn't know were there, and you know you jump, you know. And fear can be fear of the future. Fear can be fear of interacting with people. People have fear to speak in front of people. People have fear of death. But I want to talk to you from the perspective of a follower of Jesus Christ. When you're a follower of Jesus Christ and He's at the center of your life and you believe what He did on the cross for you, I'm going to show you some verses that are going to show you have no reason to fear. Okay? The word fear means to be afraid of someone or something as likely to be dangerous, painful, or threatening. Now, when we look over at the Old Testament, let's start in, let me look at my Bible. I'm going to look at a couple sections here. In Deuteronomy 3:22. This is I think it is Moses speaking to Israel. It says, "Do not fear, for the Lord your God is the one fighting for you." So, some people say that the Old Testament only applies to Israel, which it does apply to them. But if you look in the New Testament, there's this verse that I think is key to unlocking this idea that the Old Testament can apply to us as well. The truths of God going before us and fighting for us, like in that verse. In the New Testament, it says that we, Gentiles, are a royal priesthood. And in the Old Testament, specifically, royalty was, of course, the Jews, and priests were the Jews, the Levites. And I believe that with that verse, that we are a royal priesthood, engrafts us into these promises. And this is I guess for a future conversation, but just to give you a little bit of punch to the fact that these verses apply to us. So God goes before us and He fights for us. Deuteronomy 3:22. Here's another one, Joshua. We know this story. In the beginning of Joshua 1, basically time after time, God says to Joshua, He says, "Do not be afraid. Be strong and courageous. Be strong and courageous." If we go down to Joshua 1, verse 9, it says, "Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not tremble or be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." And this connects to that verse that Jesus said, "Lo, I am with you to the end of the age." Okay? Got it? All right. Let me give you another one here. Let's see here. 2 Samuel 22:33. "God is my strong fortress, and He sets the blameless in His way." So not only does God go before us and fight for us, He also is always with us. Here He says that God is our strong fortress. And so And so I think of these castles. If you're into Lord of the Rings, I'm thinking of like Helm's Deep, where it's just but these many castles, woohoo, many castles are penetrable. They can be broken into. There's a weakness somewhere, whether there's a wooden door that can be burnt down, or there's moats and there's sewers underneath the castle. But God is impenetrable, and He is our stronghold. Many times we focus on people having strongholds in their lives, things that they can't get through. But God is the ultimate stronghold. See, what happens in this world is God has a pure version of something that's truly powerful. For instance, music. Music originated with God. However, the enemy takes what's perfect and pure, makes it counterfeit. And so we have today counterfeit music that really does not honor God at all. In the same way, God has He is our stronghold as followers of Jesus Christ. However, the enemy has strongholds as well. And so sometimes I pray that God would be my only stronghold, And so He's your protector. He's there, impenetrable, okay? So these are all verses fighting against fear. So let's look at some more. In Psalms 23, I love this. And this is something you can just speak out loud over yourself when you ever feel afraid. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. I don't know if you've ever been in darkness and you don't know what's around you physically or even emotionally or spiritually, or maybe you've gone through something so tough and it feels like darkness. When going through death, that is darkness. But we can hold on as our life raft or as our anchor, that even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. So we know that God is with us always. He fights for us. He's our stronghold. He gets us through the valleys of the shadow of death. All right? Let's keep going on. This is good stuff. Many times people, I think fear comes during the dark in the night. Sometimes people can't get to sleep because of fear. I remember growing up having kind of a fear of fire, so I would go out to the oven and make sure it's off. But there's this beautiful, beautiful verse in Psalms 4:8. It says, "I will both lay down in peace and sleep, for you alone make me dwell in safety." And sometimes when I'm about to go to bed, I speak that for myself and for God's people everywhere. Because sometimes people, the day's okay, but then if you don't have a good night's sleep, it affects your day and then affects your effectiveness in maybe ministry or whatever it may be. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, here's a good one. In Psalm 56:3, it says, "When I am afraid, I will put my trust in you. In God, whose word I praise, in God I have put my trust. I shall not be afraid. What can mere men do to me?" So we know that God is our defender. He goes before us and fights for us. We know He's always with us. We know He's our stronghold. If the creator of the universe is with us and guiding us, what can mere men do to us? Okay? Remember that. Here's another thing. And remember, I talked about darkness. Many people are afraid of the dark. But what is Jesus? Jesus is in John 8:12. Then Jesus again spoke to them, saying, "I am the light of the world. He who follows me will not walk in the darkness, but will have the light of life." So you ever are being afraid of the dark? If you're ever afraid of the dark, just remember the light of the world is inside of you. And let me finish with this. This is 1 John 4 in verse 17. This in 1 John 4 is talking about agape love. This is where we see that God is love. But so we're talking about this love. Let me read verse 17 as well. By this love is perfected with us, so that we may have confidence in the day of judgment. Because as he is, so also are we in this world. There's no fear in love. This is agape love. But perfect love casts out or pushes out, throws out fear. Because fear involves punishment, and the one who fears is not perfected in love. So perfect love throws out fear. And so the love of Jesus is inside of us. This love is a fruit of the Spirit. And so when you give your life to Christ, the Spirit comes inside and dwells with us. And as the fruits of the Spirit grow in our lives, one of those fruits is love. And that love is perfect love. It's agape love. And that love throws out fear. And so, let me just recap. If you're ever afraid of the future, if you're ever afraid of something going on in your life, if you're ever afraid of just the unknown or in the dark, remember, God goes before you, he fights for you. He is with you always. He is your stronghold, impenetrable, unable to be penetrated. And he gets you through the valley of the shadow of death. His love is inside you, throwing away fear. When I am afraid, I will trust in you and God whose word I trust. What can mere men do to me? There is no need to fear. Fear is false evidence appearing real. So be encouraged and remember, no fear.